All right, let's talk about the Wallabies. To complete the player ratings and takeaways from the match, and a lovely shot there of Nick White, who every South African's favourite Australian rugby player. I'll get to him in a minute, but this is not going to be happy reading for Australians. But then nothing rugby union related is just now, is it? It's a pretty dark place that Australia are in. 2 defeats on home soil against South Africa, and now they go away to Argentina trying to muster something. They tried to give themselves a solid defence and be hard to beat in this match. There were some elements that are improved, but even so, they conceded another 30 points on home soil in very poor conditions, and probably once again should have been 50. Some of the takeaways for Australia: the power, it's just not there. You saw that when the bomb squad for the Boks came on, they just got obliterated, and maul defence non-existent. They did. Let's put a positive for Australia in that second half. Hey, they got real parity at scrum time, obviously because of uncontested scrums. But let's keep it as a positive nonetheless. Attack. When I think of Australia, when I think down the years, I think of David Campese and Joe Roth and Tim Horan and Matt Giteau, Adam Ashley Cooper. I think of players that have just this kind of raw attacking flair. Latham. Oh, sorry, not Latham. Yeah, well, Chris Latham as well. Yeah, but I was thinking Stephen Larkham, Gregan, guys that just have that attacking intent and real rugby flair. Australia, if they have anyone like that at the moment, then they're not using them like that. We saw one tiny little glimpse from young Max Jorgensen today when he made a break, but that was basically it. There was very little attacking intent, and I do understand it. As I have said, Steve Borthwick got England to within 1 point of a World Cup final by playing the most, some would say, boring, pragmatic rugby where you make yourself really hard to beat and have a heavy kicking game. And now England are only coming out of that, and I think Joe Schmidt is trying to do something similar. I'm not sure it's going to work because, well, go back to point 1, the power's just not there, and the bench impact. I mean, it's tough. It's tough to criticise bench impact when you just don't have a team's worth of great, experienced, high-quality players in the starting 15, let alone between shirts 16 and 23. But on one positive, it is great, isn't it, to see Angus Bell back in the fold. And actually, the scrum looked decent to start with. Up against Thomas Tutoy, he kind of kept him fairly honest. Now, I want to wait and see on this because obviously he's had terrible injury issues. I'm assuming, in fact, Angus Bell must be injured again. He must have come off due to an injury. Because if it was a tactical replacement, then when James Slipper went off and the game went to uncontested scrums, Angus Bell would have had to have gone back on. So he must have been an injury replacement. And the way it works, just so you know, is the reason for a player coming off has to be given. So unless Australia were doing a bit of funny business and saying, well, Angus Bell's a tactical replacement, but let's just write down that it's an injury replacement so that we could potentially go to uncontested scrums. I'm going to assume that no funny business was happening, and we'll wait and see what his injury was and what the extent of it is, because he's had a lot of them, but it's great to see him back. 6 out of 10. Josh Nasser, set pieces actually, and line out functionally was decent. Scrum was okay in that first half, so I've kind of got to credit Josh Nasser there for a bit, and Alan Alatoa, who I think, well, he won a scrum penalty against Jan Hendrik Wessels. I did think that was quite an unfair scrum penalty and that he should have given it away. But hey, experience sometimes comes to play, and the scrum can be a magic 8 ball. And if you know a couple of tricks that mean you get the penalty, then I'll give him credit for that. Angus Blythe, I'd say there's a lack of power. No lack of effort from Angus Blythe, but just a lack of power and quality from what you would want in his position. Lucan Salakaia-Lotto, probably the best game I've seen him play for Australia. He made dents. He was constantly trying to run, hit people in defence, run in attack. He's used to playing on wet grounds, heavy wet grounds, having played in England. I saw him play for Northampton Saints, and yeah, he did well. Rob Valentini, fine. Got done overall. Wasn't able to kind of bend and break the the South African defence was really organised. Australia didn't score. Quite often Rob Valetini is the ball carrier that's a focal point for them. Didn't manage to really do that in this game. Carlo Tizzano, again, without being remarkable, he was hard-working, trying to make a nuisance of himself at breakdowns. Had some success without much, but he's doing okay. Harry Wilson, probably the pick of the forwards for me for Australia. And just as a ball carrier, I think he's cemented himself in that 8 jersey. He's exactly what you want in a number 8. He'll keep running hard and he'll keep making yards. And if he gets some support from the guys around him, he could be a dangerous weapon as well. Into the backs, Nick White, the pantomime villain. He kind of looks like a pantomime villain as well with that moustache. That or a wing commander in the Air Force. I thought he did some things quite well. Obviously, didn't make himself popular with South Africa's fans who already didn't think a great deal of him, and at one point didn't make himself very popular with the referee. But is a scrum half really being a scrum half if they're not pushing the boundaries in terms of the laws? But he wasn't able to put the management on the game. But again, he's a scrum half playing behind a pack that was getting overpowered. Noah Lolesio, not convinced. Is it just the case that he's the best option right now? And he did some nice things. Tried, kicked from the tee, okay. Fine. I mean, it's not a lot of choice right now, is there? Marika Korombete, again, a positive. One of the picks of the back line. And Joe Schmidt obviously recognises the talent that he's got here with Korombete and got him into the game in lots of interesting ways, coming off his wing, inside and outside shoulders, popping up, and a focal point as a ball carrier. He's an animal of a rugby player, and yeah, get the ball in his hands, and he can do some damage. So I thought he was decent. Hunter Paisami and Len Ikitau just could not get into the game. The ball, well, the fact that Korombete had to come in to get the ball tells you everything. Australia were not able to just get the ball down an attacking line, and yeah, I mean, I've sort of said the halfbacks for Australia didn't play great. Is it any wonder then that the centres have a tough day at the office? Andrew Kellaway, fine, unremarkable. And then I'm going to finish with a positive in the Australia side, because Tom Wright I thought was really, really good. At least two try-saving tackles. And much like I mentioned Juan Cruz Malia for Argentina, he must have been looking at the picture in front of him thinking, what on earth is going on? But he just went about his business and did absolutely everything that he could. And as a counter-attacking runner, as a defensive fullback, a kicking game in really horrible conditions, I thought Tom Wright did really well. So I'm going to finish with that positive, albeit add the fact that the bench for Australia really didn't do very much. So that was a kind of negative. So have I finished on a negative? I'll tell you what, I'll just finish. Better luck next time. We've got 2 weeks now. Lots to talk about in the meantime, not least in the comments down below.